Alright, so for this project we're gonna start with the storyboard already done. So depending on, like, if you're doing this for a client, it might depend. Like, there might not even be a storyboard, there might be some sort of script, or there might not even be any of that, and you might brainstorm some ideas and pitch those in, like, with a storyboard, or just in another way with a mood board, something like that. Depends on the project. But yeah, for this thing we're gonna start with a storyboard. So the concept is already done, and we just have everything here. And from here we can start sort of building our little folder structure. If you've watched the other SESI-Snacks, the first one, you already kind of know how this is gonna go. So here we have a first shot with some mint plants in the rain, some rain falling. We have a droplet here that's gonna hit the leaf and roll over it. Then it's gonna roll off this. Then we're gonna have a lime. So the droplet will fall down, hit the lime. Then after that, the lime will fall down towards some sort of iceberg. Then the iceberg will shatter because the lime is crashing through it. And then all of these elements, so the mint leaves, the water, the lime, all start sort of twirling down into a little glass. And then we have our final drink, and then the payoff. So the whole idea with this thing is that to show each individual element sort of in a nice, coherent sort of context. Of course, it's not a complete linear story. Of course, you like this like of course a lime is not this big for real, and these ice cubes are not the same as this big chunks from the iceberg, but it tells a nice story and it works pretty well overall. So as you can see, I've already labeled my shots. So I labeled them shot 010, 020, 030, 040, again 040 because these are part of one shot, right? 050 and 060, and these are all 060 because they are part of one shot as well. So when I was originally making this, 060 and 050 were one shot originally. So sometimes you might run into something like this where you have a certain idea of how you want to do something, and then down the line it changes a little bit. Because for me it was, we started off on the side also for 050, but just higher up and closer in, and then we would cut to the wider one. And then I ended up with it eventually being a sort of a top swirl like you saw in the vinyl video. But for this thing, of course, we're already gonna start with what I know that I'm gonna be making. But like, don't be afraid to just experiment with whatever it is you're doing, and that's where the animatic phase is also just quite important, to just try some stuff out. And the reason why I'm naming this 010, 020, 030 is because maybe if we're gonna start doing our animatic and we're gonna decide, all right, we need an extra shot somewhere in between, then if it was named shot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It would get a little bit awkward because let's say I want an extra shot between shot 1 and shot 2, then I would have to name it shot 1.5, for example. And now I can just call it shot 015. So it's just a little bit easier with naming conventions because that you don't have to deal with stuff like that, like shot 1 dash whatever or dot whatever. So this is generally how you name your things inside of a project. Yeah, so with the storyboard here discussed, I think it's sort of pretty clear roughly what we need to do. So we need some plants. We need to do some simulations here with a droplet, some more simulations here, some eyes. So we're gonna need some molds as well. But before we do any of that, let's start configuring our folder structure and set up our shots. So we're gonna start off with this folder structure here. If you wanna know more about this specific folder structure, I have a video here called VFX Folder Structure, which discusses this in a little bit more detail. But in general, what it is just a couple of folders, just easy sort of to organize. This will be included in the downloads, by the way. So we can just go in here, and since we're only gonna be working in Houdini, I'm just gonna delete all of these other folders. And we're gonna make some folders inside of here. Which are gonna be our shots, so we can work a little bit organized. Let's first do an R&D folder. So let's say if we want to do some research and development stuff, so just testing stuff out, we can do that in that folder. And let's just copy this folder a couple of times, and let's just give this a name. So shot 010, shot 020, shot 030, shot 040, shot 050, And then we need one more, and that is going to be shot 060. All right. So we have all of our shots configured here. And maybe we also want a specific folder for our animatic, because that is what we're going to be making now. So animatic. And again, like we might need to add more or less shots like down the line, but now we have everything configured according to what we have sort of in here. So yeah, we're gonna set up our animatic first. And animatic is just easy to do, just in one Houdini file, because we don't want to be jumping back and forth between sort of Houdini files when we're doing the animatic, because we don't necessarily know if this story that we developed here in our storyboard is going to work for our final edit, because like I mentioned, stuff might change. Like I might think this is going to work, but if I see it in my animatic, all right, like, I don't know, like maybe it doesn't necessarily work. So yeah, let's open up Houdini and let's set up our animatic scene. So before we do anything else, and you're gonna wonder about some stuff like, why does my viewport look a little bit different inside of Houdini? We're gonna do everything inside of ACES, and I'm just gonna talk you really quick on how to set this up. We're gonna talk more about it later, but for now, let's just configure it, just set it up so everything is already set up, and then later we're gonna talk a little bit more about it. So if you want to know more about ACES in general, I have here a video called Composing for 3D Artists, which is my own video series, and I'm talking a little bit more about it here. But I'm just also going to explain it down here. But just you know, if you want to know more about it, you can check that one. But in order to configure this, what you first need to do is to go to opencolor.io.org. And you know to go to the downloads page. And I guess that's going to be there we go, download. You can go here, sample opencolor.io, just right click, save link as. It will give you a download. That will be this thing. Just put this somewhere on your disk where you can easily reference it. For example, I've put it in here on C config OCIO. Then you're gonna do press the Windows key on your keyboard if you're on Windows, or if you're on Linux, then it's gonna be probably a different way to do this, and you should Google how to do that. But if you're gonna type variables, you're gonna find this thing, edit system environment variables. We're gonna get this thing, and then in here we're gonna click the environment variables, and you need to make a new one. So click new. You're gonna name it OCIO, and you're gonna point it to that thing on your disk, to the ACES 1. So to ACES 1.03 here, and then config.ocio. So you're gonna point it to that thing. I've already done it here, so I can press edit. So you can see here I have it here. So if you've done that, you can press OK. You can press apply. And if you then open Houdini back up, then it should automatically pick up on OpenColor.io. Then you can double check. If you go to perspective, open up the corrections toolbar, you should have a tab here called ACES. So it's set to ACES, and then here we can set it to how do you want to view it, sRGB or Rec 709 or whatever it is that you want to be doing. Let's do it to Rec 709. So now our Houdini is set up for ACES. We're going to talk more about what this actually entails once we get to actually using it a little bit more down the line. But now it's already set up, and then if you're going to be wondering like why the colors in my viewport might look a little bit different if you didn't have this configured, now you don't have to worry about that, because now everything should be the same in both our Houdini versions in terms of colors. So yeah, with that out of the way, let's configure our animatic project. So one more thing we need to do is you need to put down this HDA that's included in the downloads, and this is my shot setup. And again, this is discussed in more detail in the VFX folder structure folder. But essentially what it just does, it just sets some environment variables just in some HScript nodes in here. And that's so it will essentially just put down, like if you know $job, which is pointed to a directory, this will point to other directories. There's a thing in here in Houdini. If you go to edit, aliases and variables, you can see $hip is pointed to this, hip files pointed to that, etc., etc. You can create this yourself if you put them in here. But another way to do it is, for example, with a asset like this. So let's point this to our root. So this is going to be a project root. And so that's going to be a little bit more easy to sort of, and by the way, we need to do forward slashes, but this is going to be more easy to refer to some of our assets later on. So we could do $root/assets, for example. So project name, SESI-Snacks volume 2, shot is just going to be Animatic. All right, we're going to save this, save as, and we can, as you can see, if you go to $root, you can see we're going in our folder Animatic, and then we can save it as this Animatic. There we go. So that is all set up correctly now. And so this will just make it easy. Like, for example, if you were to put down a file somewhere, you could just put $root here, and then this would refer to $root. And then from here, you can browse your assets. Just make everything a little bit easier. So one more thing to configure, and I know that we're configuring quite a lot, but I mean, we might as well get everything out of the way first. So if we look at our animatic, we have quite some things that are gonna require some vegetation. And of course, for vegetation, scans are gonna be probably the best solution because they are gonna look great, and like they're always gonna look better than if we would try to make something like that ourselves. So we need some plants, we need a lime, stuff like that. Like, we don't need too many. We're actually gonna be using Megascans for this. So you need to install Quixel Bridge. You can see I already have, I have a little lime here. So if you don't know what it is, essentially the Megascans, you probably know it, but it's a library of a whole bunch of scans. So this is, for example, the lime that I used. You can see it there. So these are paid assets. So I cannot include them inside of the download. I will include for the simulation scenes, I will include some proxies and stuff. But if you want to follow along yourself with the actual assets, you can just get a 1-month subscription, I guess, to Megascans. You can just go to to quixel.com/megascans, and they have a bunch of plans you can use. So the personal one, you can, if you want to follow along with these assets, you can just get this one. You get some points to download a couple of nice models, and then you could follow along. So if you ever have everything installed, for example, you can get a Megascans plugin here, and this will allow us to import stuff into Houdini. So then we could, for example, go in here with this lime, and you could press export, and I need to have export settings set to Houdini, and it's gonna complain about the thing. All right, because I had an update, and for some reason updates seem to just reset the whole thing. I don't know why, but if I now press export, you can see it will dump down and I had scattering enabled. That's why it's sort of scatters in here. I can just delete this. As you can see, this will load it into Houdini in a subnetwork. Small green lime. In with space, if I can zoom in, and you can see I have my lime here with some materials assigned with the principled shader. So that's what we're going to be using as well. So I'm just going to delete this for now, but just make sure that you have this installed if you really want to follow along. And with the download files on the website, I will have some proxies included. But if you really want to follow along, it's probably best to get the actual assets or get some of your own assets that you want. So one more thing before we actually get started. If you open any files, for example, with Megascans in there, you're gonna have a little bit of a problem because all these files will, of course, not be pointing to your own Megascans download file because you might have installed it in a different drive. For example, your drive might have been the C drive. So how do you quickly change all of that in your entire Houdini file? Well, that's where op change comes in. So if you open up the help file, if you type op change, there's a little dialog here that says all the options that it has. So you can type, for example, op change plastic constant, and then it will change the word plastic to constant in this scenario. But so if we were to try this out, go to Window, HScript Textport, let's type. So look at this path here. Let's say we want to change the D drive / assets to C / assets. So let's type op change D / assets, and then we're going to type C / assets. Enter. You can see now it changed the thing here from D to C. So now you can see in my case it can't find it anymore because of course mine is located on the D drive. So let's put it back. You can see now it's working. Let's say yours is located on, so let's say this is my original. Let's say yours is just located on the regular C drive. I could just do it like this. Enter. You can see now it's going to go to C, Megascans, blah, blah, blah. So just wanted to throw that in there. Easy way to quickly replace everything inside of your whole Houdini file. So again, look in the help file in order to find more info on what operator change can do. But so now let's actually get into making our animatic. So for our first shot, we need some mint plants. So if we just search in Quixel Bridge and just type mint, search, we're gonna find some plants. There's a lemon balm and here's the peppermint. I use the peppermint, and you need to open the Megascans plugin. Let's enable Megascan Scatter. I know it's sort of like the UI scaling in this thing is not ideal. They should really fix it at some point. But enable that one, and then go to the peppermint. Just get, I guess, the highest one or get the lower resolution one. Probably the higher one is gonna be good for our purposes. And then if you press export, it will be exported in here. You can see we get a bunch of plants. Let's for now disable the scattering setup, which is in here. And you can see we get a whole bunch of plants. So we're gonna be, of course, we're gonna be using this plant, and it's gonna, I know it's gonna be a little bit slow. Let's hide a couple of these in the viewport. Maybe we'll wanna disable textures in the viewport. Oh, that's not good. Gonna work for some reason. All right, let's disable everything for now. These textures in the viewport are a little bit slow. All right, now it's back. So here we have our plant. I think this, I believe variation 2 is the main one that I ended up using. So we're already going to be using this stuff inside of the animatic, just to populate our scene a little bit. Oh, and by the way, let's build our viewport if you haven't done it already. So you can actually split views if you go to split left right. For example, on here, so I want to split this one top and bottom. And I want to go to inspectors and make this a geometry spreadsheet. So we can have some stuff that we can see. And then on this thing here, I want to split this one left, right. I want to split this one left, right as well. I want to link this one to first, and then this one to first as well. So this will means we have multiple panels to work in. Link this one with the thing here to 2, and also this one to 2. So now you can see we can work in 2 different viewports here, which is going to be quite nice. So yeah, we have our plant in here, and we might as well already load our lime as well, because we know we're going to be needing it later. So then we don't have to go back. Lime. Open up the thing. Let's disable scatter for that one. Let's open up our bridge. Go to our 3D assets, go to lime, so small green lime. Let's also export that one. So then we have our assets here. Could select these and we could put an underlay underneath them and call them models, 3D models, something like that. Keep it a little bit nice and organized. So I already have these. We could hide them now if we want to. Then we can load these into our actual shots. Right, so let's make our own subnet and let's start doing some stuff for the first shot. So let's call this shot 0 1. Let's dive in here and let's start making our animatic for the first shot. All right, so let's start by just making a geometry node here. Geometry. And let's call this hero plans. It's hero. All right. Whoop. And let's go in there. Let's do an object merge. Let's drag our, I'm using the secondary, so the var2 LOD. And let's go out of there and let's make a camera as well. And call it shot 01 cam v001 in case we maybe want to do another like another camera later. Maybe good to call it 001 because we might want to do some variations. So let's look through our camera. Let's put the lock. Let's select our hero plant. Go in the viewport, press space F so we can focus on our plant. And then let's look for sort of a, so we have, like we want something similar to this. So we have plant in the center and then a leaf. So let's look for one that looks good. So maybe the one, let's just have a look at like which one do we want to use. Maybe this one looks nice. This one looks kind of cool. So we could have a look at our focal distance. Maybe we want a little bit more, 62, something like this. So something like this looks pretty decent. We could always change it later, but I just put it like this for now. Just our little hero plant. All right, so with the hero plant out of the way, let's do some environment plants as well. So let's just call this environment scatter. And let's just go object merge and let's just load some plants in there. So I only used this variation for my animatic. I think we can always like use another one later, but for now let's just do this one. And we also need some environment to scatter stuff on. So let's just jump out of here. Let's make another geometry node. Call this ground. Let's put down a grid. And we can make this probably a lot smaller. Let's just make sure that we sort of cover our entire viewing area. A little bit more over there. And let's just increase our rows and columns because we are going to be adding some geometry detail to this and also going to be painting on this. So let's first add a mountain sub. And by the way, we already want to do a UV project because later this is going to be useful. Once we start rendering this, just project it downwards. Not necessarily relevant for now, but it will be later. So mountain sub, let's just do a little bit of a, maybe we want a little bit more geometric detail on this thing. And just so we get like a little bit of geometric detail in our ground. All right, let's do a null, as an out. And let's go back into our environment plants. Let's object merge that into this object. Let's, by the way, hide this thing in our, there we go. Right, so now we have it here. And now we want to paint something on it. I just like to use the color paint. You can also use attribute paint. For some reason, I just prefer doing it with color and then just writing out the attribute myself. Just force of habit, I suppose. I just like painting with the color instead of setting up the visualizer. So I'm just going to type paint the color. Now we can, so first need to assign this black color and then we're going to be painting a color here. And you can see if I now paint, you can see I can, paint a color on this thing. Quite nice. And you might have already guessed it, but Where the white stuff is going to be where we are going to be scattering our plants. So let's type scatter and align. And let's set it to number of points. So how many points do we want to scatter? You can see it's set to 1000 right now, but let's put skill by attribute, and let's type CD here. So you can see it's only scattering points where we're painting. So if we clear this paint, if we now start painting, you can see we get points wherever it is that we're painting. So that's exactly what we want, because then we can start copying stuff to it. Let's put the coverage to 100%. You can see this is sort of a slider on like how close stuff is going to be together, coverage, blah, blah, blah. I want far less points, maybe like 24. Let's move the plant here to the side. And let's copy 2 points. Target points. These points, let's enable pack and instance already. So pack is going to instance whatever it is that we're going to be copying to it. So it's going to be a lot more efficient. So let's copy to it and then select our copy to points. You can see now we have a whole bunch of copies here. They're still quite small. And by the way, we can use attribute delete to delete the colors. Here we go. And I want to change this P scale a little bit. So let's do attribute randomize. Put down the type P scale here. Set it to just 1, and then let's do it between 0.75 and 1. So now we're going to get sort of slightly randomized scales. You can see the copies are slightly misaligned because what they are doing is following the normals. So if I visualize the normals here, you can see the normals are following the surface here, right? I don't necessarily want that. I would just want them to grow straight up because they're plants and plants grow toward the sun. So they grow straight up. So what I want to do is I want to do another attribute create before scatter and align. I just want to type N for normal, and I can see everything disappears. Well, because we want this to be a vector. So a float is going to be just 1 here, and we want it to be a vector, so 3 components. And we want the normal to go in the up direction, so straight up. So now if we were to look here, you can see normals are pointing straight up, just like a plant would. And then if we look here, you can see the plants are being aligned. And then with scatter and align, we can rotate them a little bit, so we have some more control there. And with this paint, we can sort of control over where we are positioning everything. So let's have a look. Maybe I want a little bit more here. Maybe there are a little bit too many. 18. Maybe I want the ground to be a little bit lower, if I'm honest. So I don't want to be as like I want it to be a little bit higher up. I don't want to be super close to the ground, so maybe something like this is nice. But again, you can play with this. It's your own scene, so make it whatever you want to make it. So here now we have all of the basic elements. Now we can do a little bit of a camera move and add some fake falling droplets in the environment because it is raining. So let's first let's do a little bit of a camera animation. So what I probably want to do is just to put our camera to a null. So now with this null, we can sort of control the movement. And what I want to do, by the way, before we start doing any actual animation now, let's actually set our project settings correctly. So let's actually put this to 30 frames per second because this is sort of a fake commercial, and commercials in the US generally are 30 frames per second. Also on the internet are 30 frames per second. If you're doing it in Europe, it's generally going to be 25, and film is of course going to be 24. And we want our frame range to be 1001 to something. Let's do 1250 for now. The reason why you generally want to start with a different frame range And maybe 1000 might make more sense. Like, it depends on the like, generally they will use 1001. So 1 as the first frame. Houdini has frame 0 as the first frame, so you could also do this. Maya has frame 1 as first frame, so that's why generally in projects you start with 1001. And the reason why you're doing this is, let's say you have simulations and you have some pre-roll, then the problem is going to be that if you start at 0, how are you going to pre-roll and save out your pre-roll? Because then the frames are going to be negative. So that's not going to be ideal. So you generally start at frame 1000. And then you can have some handle frames, so before and after 1000. But so generally your first frame will be 1001. So now with that configured, let's do some animation. So we have our null. Let's call this mover. And I don't know how long this shot is going to be yet. Let's say that it's going to be 100 frames. So let's say I like this as a final frame maybe. So let's set a keyframe there. Let's move up a little bit. Beginning. And let's shift click on it. And by the way, you can see I have these handles. I want this to probably be a sort of a more straight movement. And let's enable stopwatch. So something like this. So these are so if you shift click on this, you see these are the animation curves, but because this is just sort of the opening shot, we don't necessarily want easing in here. Like maybe you do, like it's your own shot, like play with it. Like you don't have to necessarily make it exactly the same as I'm making this, but like do whatever you want. And maybe I do want to extend this a little bit because I feel like it might be a little bit longer. So I can just grab this key. You can see if I start dragging this, it will reintroduce these Bezier handles. So I just want to select and then press linear again. All right, so now we have a linear thing here. Now let's add a little bit of sort of fake rain. So let's add geometry. Call this rain. This is going to be very simple. Just going to put a grid. Let's do ghost other objects. Let's make it 2 by 2 or something like this. So let's make it sort of roughly fit our scene. Go up and let's do a pop network. Put down a gravity. So this is going to drop points down. And I want maybe the live to be a little bit shorter because I don't want them to necessarily exist when they go out of the screen. Let's look through our camera. And this is, for example, where we want a little bit of a pre-roll. So that's exactly where this comes in. So now we can set start frame, for example, to 970. And you can see now our rain is already there. Well, if you were to put this to 1001, the rain would start inside of our thing. So that's not necessarily what we want. Maybe we do want to reduce the time scale a little bit. Maybe I don't want these to fall as fast. So let's do a little bit of the pre-roll, 970. And again, pops are really fast anyway. Don't forget to save in the meantime. Let's copy to points, some stuff here. So let's do target points this, and let's do a sphere. Let's make it a lot smaller. Oh, that's back in instance. So now we have some fake rain here, and this is probably still too fast. At least for our animatic. Like when we're gonna actually be doing this for real, it will depend on, of course, on the look of the scene. And I think these are way too many rain droplets. Let's decrease this to like 700-ish. And then I guess speed now is too slow, so let's do 0.7. Like again for the animatic. Like none of this is the big deal. Just that you get the idea that it's somewhat raining a little bit. And then somewhere at the end, we want sort of a hint of a droplet already landing on our leaf. So we probably should already do that. So maybe what we want to do is go in our plant here. Let's blast away our hero leaf. So let's just shift click and delete it. So let's press this. So this is going to be our, if we go back in here, main underscore main plant. And then we're gonna be doing another one. Non-selected. It's gonna be our hero leaf. And you can already see we're already actually preparing a lot of stuff for this animatic that we probably are gonna use later on. And if you saw my if you saw my presentation about this project, you saw that this shot didn't even change that much from the animatic to the final one. Of course, we're going to add more stuff to it, make it look real nice. But aside from that, so let's highlight our main plant here and let's make another thing here. Let's call it hero leaf, not her leaf, although it could also be her leaf if it's someone's property. But let's go in here. Let's go object merge, and again, let's put in our hero leaf. And now we have this hero leaf here, and now we could add some bend controls in here. So let's just highlight it, put a bend on it, and we want to do a proper capture region. Let's make the capture region a lot smaller. So the scale that we're actually working on is quite small. That might in some issues, like in some scenarios, be maybe a little bit an issue depending on the project that you're working on. I know that it won't be here, but let's for now just keep this at regular sort of setting. So what I'm doing here is I am taking the handle here from the band, and we're going to align it, and with Shift and 2 on the viewport, you can go to top. And we're going to align it to where our leaf is. So with the capture direction, you can rotate a little bit. Capture length, we're going to change that, and we're going to move up a little bit. All right. Now you can see we can sort of bend this thing. Maybe we want to doesn't have to be super precise as of now. Like later we will, when we actually start doing more work on this, we will make it a lot better. So maybe we want to say that right around one of the final frames, we're gonna bend this a little bit, because maybe like a droplet is gonna hit this. Because I mean, like you've already seen the final video, but like when you're doing this animatic, it might be that like maybe I wanted to already hit this thing in the video, and you're gonna find that out when you do the edit, like what will work the best, what won't work. So let's just sort of animate this down. So that's gonna needs to probably happen a lot faster. All right, and let's make a fake droplet here. Sphere create. Big drop. We're gonna just do that in object context. We're gonna make it a very tiny droplet. Let's give it a color for now, so it's just easier to see in the viewport of where we're gonna be, where it's gonna be. Everything is gray, it's just a little bit harder to see. We want this to be on top of our hero leaf, which is that one. Right, something like that. Yeah, doesn't have to be super nice for now. It's just an animatic. Right. So I'm just gonna say that it's gonna be on the leaf. It's gonna hit the leaf here. Gonna go up a couple of frames. I'm just gonna move it out. Out of sight, out of mind. Play. You can see it move down. You're just gonna move it slightly over the leaf. And again, in the edit, we're gonna see how this is all gonna play out, because whoop, something like that. All right, it's looking pretty fine. Let's delete the color again. Make it a little bit smaller. All right, let's export this as a flipbook. Again, there's multiple ways to do that. You have there's the flipbook generator assets, which you can put in a topnet. You could put TVA flipbook generate, which is discussed in the other video that referred you to the VFX folder searcher, or we can just do a regular flipbook. 1001 until 1120-ish. And size 1920 by 1080. Now it's gonna open up the flipbook. Yes, so to allow. Again, new build, so it's always gonna ask that. All right, open up the mplay. All right, looks pretty good. Let's export this. Let's just export it as a sequence. Or we could do as an let's do an MP4. Let's make it a little bit organized. All right, let's make a folder called flip, and let's call this shot 01 001. If you don't have this, like FFmpeg, watch my VFX, watch my video about this tool. So in the VFX folder structure thing, that is discussed as well, on how to configure FFmpeg. Essentially what you need to do is you need to add FFmpeg to your and ImageMagick to your Houdini environment folder, and then you get this thing in here, or with the flipbook generator, but you get FFmpeg, and then in here you could say shot 010. Let's call it SESI-Snacks shot 010 V001. All looking good. Save. And then we actually have it over here. Our first shot. All right, so let's move on to the second shot for the animatic. Let's just start making all of our animatics, and then we can start editing everything together. All right, so for my next trick, I'm just gonna copy and paste shot 1, let 020, hide 010, because this one is going to be very similar. Like if we look at the storyboard, it's the same scene, but with some stuff in the background, the leaf in the front. So now we already have something set up. The one thing that you are going to notice is that, like, if you're going to be looking at it like this, there's nothing in the background. So we need to start rotating our plant a little bit. So let's go into our hero leaf here. Oh, not our hero leaf, sorry. Let's go into our hero plant here. And we want to rotate this thing slightly. Right, let's just rotate it so that our leaf is gonna be somewhat somewhat facing forward when we do this, all right? Something like that. Let's look through the cam from the shot, and we can just lock our view, and let's move our camera somewhat in position. Right, let's move it, rotate this a little bit. All right. Roughly like that, I guess. Let's unlock the camera. So we have that set up. Now we can go into the hero leaf, and we're gonna of course need to transform this thing a little bit. Oh, and in the hero plant, let's highlight the main plant so we don't have both so we don't have a duplicate hero leaf. Want to make a transform here because this is not wide enough. Like if we look at the storyboard, it needs to be a little bit wider. So I'm gonna put a transform there and click centroid to origin, and I'm gonna zero out that thing. Right. Now I am going to just move slightly, and I'm gonna press enter to sort of highlight the transform in the viewport. So you press enter in the viewport. It won't work if you do it over here. I'm going to press insert on the keyboard. If you do insert, you can see the gimbal or the thing move a little bit. You can sort of set the pivot. So this is the transforming the pivot, as you can see. So I want to put the pivot just at the base through the camera, and we wanted to sort of also orient towards that part, so then we can transform it. All right, something like that looks pretty good. Then press insert again to go back to the regular transform. Look through the camera, and we can scale it out. We can maybe rotate a little bit. We want to sort of just move it in position so we have somewhat of a leaf. For our final thing, we're gonna be changing this up because we're not gonna be using this actual leaf, but for this example, this is fine. I think maybe I want to rotate the camera a bit more. Maybe something like that. All right. I guess something like that is pretty good. So we need to refit the bend, probably. Oh, maybe we can even stretch out the leaf a little bit like that. Or you can see it's not. It's not connected properly. No. All right. Turn the camera again. Close enough. All right. Highlight the bend. So the bend now is not gonna work properly because it's not capturing the leaf anymore. As you can see, the thing is still over there. So let's say set capture region. You can see now it is somewhat capturing it again. No, not yet. All right, there we go. So it's orienting the wrong direction. So we want let's just zero out the up vectors. So let's put up vector to that. Right, so you can see we can sort of bend it downwards. Maybe let's remove our key here. And we're gonna just manually sort of animate this in position. So thing is gonna hit, and then we're gonna move downwards. Maybe you want to do our camera animation first a little bit. So camera is gonna move down, I guess, until like frame 1100. Just move these keys here. And then we're gonna follow the droplet that's going to come out of there. I'm going to really go down quite a lot. Right, need to really zoom out here. By the way, again, if you want to open this, shift click here and it will open it up. All right, a little bit more maybe. All right, so now let's animate the leaf a little bit. So we're gonna just be animating this manually. And for the droplet, we're just gonna do sort of a fake droplet using some vellum, but just with a soft body. So we can just drop a soft body on it and we're just gonna roll it off the leaf. All right, let's first start our angle a little bit up. And let's just bend it downwards. Right, something like that. Bending it downwards. And maybe we wanted to, so in the beginning the droplet is gonna hit, so maybe we want already have sort of some initial sort of hit like that, something like that. So there's a little bit jarring like that. So there's multiple ways we could sort of add a jiggle on here. You can actually add jiggles to specific channels. That would be to go to motion effects. And then you could, for example, add a noise. We could also do that ourselves by adding chop network. So chops are sort of filtering processes for stuff. And we can just put down a chop net. Let's call this, I guess, in chops. So we're gonna just build the thing ourselves that you can normally do in here. So just so we have a little bit more control, we're gonna put a channel over there. So what we're going to be doing, let me dive in over here in the hero leaf. I'm going to type geometry. That will allow us to load a geometry. So what do we want to load? We want to load that one. So in chops, we're going to want to make it animated. Then we want to put down a jiggle. So put a jiggle and then we're going to do a null. Let's call it out. And then in here, we are going to put the chop and put it to animated. So what it's going to do is going to take this input, which is just our sort of jacket thing, and then it's going to put it into chops. And then we have this jiggle thing here. And so this is going to jiggle it and then output it and then output it into this channel here. So we need to say, all right, we want to export this thing. Now, if we're going to play, go to the side and it's going to be a little bit more clear if you play. Right, so you can see it already. That's sort of the jiggly thing. So then we already have our sort of hit set up. Now that we have that, let's do some very sort of simple drop falling on it. Again, this is just for the animatic. Later we're going to be using the actual vellum fluids, but for now we're just going to be using a soft body just to sort of get sort of a flow over here, set our timing and do all of that. So I'm going to be making a sphere. Let's just do a regular polygon. Zoom out here a little bit. You can see it's a little bit on the larger side, which we don't want. So we're going to want to move this. Let me just press enter in the viewport. All right. So we're just going to be putting this into position. I'm going to make this into a soft body. So just type strut soft body. Strut soft body should be fine for this. We don't need it at reader or soft body. And we're just going to type vellum solver. So we're going to be putting these things in here. And then we're going to put this thing over there into the collision. Right. So Let's have a look. Why is it not working? Reset. Start frame. Right, let's just output thing over there. And let me just hide everything. Right. Here is our thing. And it's not working for some reason. So of course I have to turn on my little brain here. I had that disabled probably from a previous session. So just gonna turn it on. Right, so you can see it's gonna fall down. Right, let me put that ping back in. All right. So let's already, before we do anything else, let's output this as the leaf geo. Out leaf. And this thing here, we want to do maybe a val and post process in between. And just filter through the whole thing. And this out sphere. Or let's say out drop. Probably makes more sense. Just gonna load the drop, I guess, into, so let's delete that stuff and let's say object merge. Let's just load in the drop over there, right, into this object. And for the leaf here, output that one. All right, so let's see what we got. A little bit enthusiastic, a little bit fast. Let me hide the rain, by the way. So let's just go into our hero leaf again. So let's just change some stuff. Let's do time scale 33 or something. Our thing is a little bit, well, not deforming as much. Maybe I want to also increase the frequency so it has a little bit more geometry to work with. Let me pin my thing to the first frame. Right, put this to 3. And I'm going to say, right, I'm going to go into struts and I'm going to decrease the stiffness, and in the cloth I am going to reduce the stretch stiffness as well. All right, that's a little bit too intense. Let's put this to 10,000. So cloth, stretch. That's a lot better. So let's try 1,000. That's decent. Maybe 100. All right. Going to maybe move the sphere back just a little bit. Something like that. All right. Maybe like a little bit more slow. Some other stuff. Maybe we want it to be a little bit more static. All right. So this is not dropping now at all. Maybe we want to rotate our leaf down a little bit more initially. All right, something like that looks pretty cool. So let's do a little pre-roll on this thing. So again, that's why we did the starting at 1001, because now we could say 991 to start the sim at 991. So you can see now we pre-rolling it by 10 frames. So now in the first couple of frames, it will already hit the leaf. Right, and for here it rolls off. So we guess we need to revisit our camera animation. So let's do it like that, and let's move our keyframes like that. Let's make it down here a little bit more. So now it's gonna follow the leaf there, not the leaf, follow the droplet there a little bit. Right, so let's play. I think maybe our sphere needs to be a little bit smaller as well because it's quite big. Right, so a little bit smaller. Now you can see probably need our camera to be a little bit less extreme. But you can see it's pretty fast to just iterate like this. All right, that's looking good. So let's flipbook this, and then we can move to the next shot. So we don't really need to cache anything out because this is quite fast. Let's do a flipbook. So 1001 to 1100 seems about right. 1920, 1080 seems about right. So let's have this open up the flipbook. Right, there we go. And again, like we might need to change the timing on this later, but for now, seems fine. So shot 20 V001, looking good, and export. Right, yes, complain all you want. All right, looking good. All right, so now let's do the next shot. So it's gonna be the droplet hitting the lime. So let's find out a way in order to sort of quickly do this as an animatic without taking a lot of time, but still getting sort of the idea of something hitting it. All right, so let's just dive out of here. Let's do another subnet, and like this time we just make another subnet. So let's just go in there, and let's do a geometry. And let's call this our lime. So we already had the lime loaded over there. So we just want to object merge something in there. Let's just go in there. And then we have our asset geometry there. Let's plug it in. Over there on the left. All right, so that's our lime. We don't want to do into this object, because if we do into this object and we start transforming it here, you can see we cannot transform it. We just want to do it like that. So then we can just easily sort of manipulate it here on object level, which is probably going to be a little bit easier for what we're going to do. Let's make a camera. Let's do, I guess, something like 15 millimeters should be fine. So let's position our thing so it's slumping like that. All right. Let's just rotate our lime a little bit. Right. So something like that. And again, probably want to add a null to this thing to move it. All right. So in the first couple of frames, we probably wanted to sort of move down, like I also had in my original shot. And like I know we already did this is what we're creating, but sort of it serves as a sort of a nice sort of reference. So we sort of have the camera move down just a little bit. I guess we could wait for that a little bit. Let's just first do the other stuff. Let's hide our mover here. And we want to do somewhat of a sort of a splash over this lime. I'm going to, for the animatic, do this with flip real quick before I start diving into the vellum solver, because I want to keep sort of the explaining of the vellum solver for that part when we actually start doing the simulations. And with flip, it will be pretty fast to just do somewhat of a splash over it. It won't look as good as we're gonna get when we're doing it with the vellum, but it will be good enough for sort of just our animatic. So let's just make another note here. Let's call it flip. Go in there. Now from here, we do want to do an object merge and go and do our shot 3. And there we do want to object merge into this object. So we have our lime. Now let's do a sphere. That's quite big. All right, maybe what I want to do is actually I want to maybe scale my lime up a little bit, because it seems to be right, because else I'm gonna get a weird behavior with the flip solver. So I'm just scaling up the lime here 10 times. All right, so let's make this droplet here a little bit smaller. Do it flip source, flip dot source. All right, there we go. Let's do 0, 3. So we have not really a lot of points. Let's see. Oh wait, I need to of course link these up. Right, now you can see I get quite some points. Right, now let's do a dot network. Plug that in, and then plug the lime into the second one. I'm really waiting for also to for SESI-Snacks to also bring the flip solver over here. It would be nice, but I guess that's going to be for our next release, or maybe in sort of an intermediate update. But yeah, let's do a flip object and a flip solver. Gonna plug this into that. So here in the initial data, it's sort of bringing in this is a default grid of some particles. We don't want that. What we want to do is we want to put a backtick. That's the thing on your keyboard all the way like on the left from the 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. There's a backtick there with the tilde above it. If you didn't know where that was, you type up input path, open bracket, quotation mark, dot, dot, and then close quotation mark, comma, and then 0, and then close bracket, and then backtick. Press enter. Now if you middle mouse on this, you can see it will evaluate to this flip source here. Maybe if we want to make this a little bit more, so if I do this, you can see it evaluate to the null. So let's call it in flip, something like that. And what we probably want to do is we want to link this voxel size here to the voxel size of our flip sim. You can see now it shows up here. And we want to change the visualization on the flip object here, guides, and then you can see there's multiple tabs here, particles, and then just put it to particles. You can see there's multiple visualizations there, how you want to visualize it. But let's just do particles. All right, so now we have a thing here. Now let's also do a static object. So we want to bring in our lime. So let's merge that in. So with the merge, first put static object, then the flip solver, and just put it into the out. And I just go over to our flip object again, initial data, and let's middle mouse on this again. Copy this expression, paste it in stop path, and change the 0 to a 1. So we'll bring in our lime. All right. Now we want to initialize some velocity on this thing. So go to the flip object, go to initialize velocity. Let's try -10. All right, that's way too much. Let's do -0. All right, something like that. -0.1. All right, something like that. All right. Again, this is just to sort of for the animatic. Again, we're gonna do this with the vellum later. But for the animatic, this is just a little bit easier. All right, let's go to the physical tab. Let's say, let's add some viscosity. Maybe a little bit so we don't get, and oh, we need to go to on flip solver. Volume, motion, viscosity, enable viscosity. All right, maybe we don't want to do viscosity. Or just a little bit. The thing why I'm trying this is because I don't want it to spill over as much. So just a very tiny bit of viscosity might help, or it might not help. I guess we will find out. You know what? Let's just keep viscosity to 0. Let's instead go on the flip solver, go to particle motion reseeding, because we want this to use for our animatic. All right, let's first, by the way, before we do that, let's increase the particle or decrease the particle separation. We get a little bit more particles. So we get some sort of splash. Again, this is still not good for our animatic. Probably want to do is go to now to the flip solver particle motion reseeding. And if you increase surface oversampling, what it's going to do is it's going to oversample sort of the volume that this is. So how Flip works, again, like I mentioned, it's sort of a voxel grid, and inside that voxel grid it's seeding particles. So this is going to oversample sort of the thing and then add more particles into it. So let's put it to 12. You can see it will fill it up. It's 242. The ends are still live and everything. All right. That looks pretty decent. And again, this is just for the animatic. Maybe we want to do pop attract in the center here because we don't want it to be so. Let's, by the way, turn the receding down a little bit for now because it makes it slow. Let's push it out a little bit when it just hits the thing. Let's do particle velocity pop attract. Let's move it up there. Just play through it a little bit, and then over here, right? So we want to increase the force scale here from 0 to minus 300 or something. So that's going to push it away. It's probably going to be too much. All right, that's going to be way too much. Again, so I'm just using the Houdini tools here to just get a sort of a quick representation of roughly what I want. And just with Flip, this is just a little bit now more easy to do this. And later we're going to do this with Film Solver. All right. You know what? Let's just remove this. Let's instead just turn down on the collision. Let's just turn down the friction. This will probably also help with it just sliding off. All right. I say we just keep it like that. So we have the basic thing there set up. It's going to hit it. And for this, we do want to probably cache this out a little bit. So we can just do it in the hip location here. So let's call it Flip. Let's just cache out just a couple of frames, like 1050, and save the disk. Yes, I know. Oh, by the way, 1 second before we do this, because I want to retime this. We need to go on the Flip Solver. You go to particle motion. We need to go to add ID attribute so we can retime it. Right, again, save the disk. Yes, I need to configure that. I know. All right, so this is cached out and we can just go through this. This is really nice with the new file cache node. You can see you just have this all set up. You can do versioning and all of that. It's quite nice. All right, so let's do a time blend after this, so we can sort of retime this. You need a time blend in order to properly retime this, and then do a time shift. Turn off integer frames, and then delete the frame here. So now we can sort of move through, and the viewport is breaking. So sometimes this happens where it just keeps stuff in memory in the viewport. Don't ask why. Has been a bug forever. So let's make a new, close the viewport with the X. If that ever happens, go to plus, new tab, viewers, scene view, and just look through our camera and hide all the other stuff. All right. So now you can see that is fixed again. All right. So now you can see we can just sort of, oh, by the way, what we need to do is we need to, so accidentally in this cache, I also saved out the lime, which obviously I don't want to do. So what I want to do is I want to copy the flip object here and paste it on their flip object on the .network, so that this will set what it's gonna load. So let's just look at our first frame. Right, so now let's just save this out again. Right, so it still had the memory. So anyway, so now we have our thing loaded. And then we can do time shift, and you can see now we can sort of do subframe retiming. So let's say we want to hit it on frame 8. Maybe we want to, because before this we wanted to sort of start up higher, right? So maybe what we want to do is want to say, all right, let's maybe say from frame 10, we want the impact sort of to start. Then we go back a couple of frames and we go to the first frame of the actual animation, because we're going to be doing some extra stuff there. Then we're going to go ahead a couple of frames, and again, middle mouse, and then just do like that, so that we have sort of the splash. Right, and then we're gonna go forward a little bit and just do it like that. We can always shift click on this, and maybe we can even remove some keys and just do it with the Bezier handles. A bit more clean. Right. And then maybe what we're going to do after this is just do a transform. So of course, over here we were still over there. And then maybe we want to say add a key. Then in the first couple of frames, we just want to really move this thing upwards. So if we now then press play, we have an entire drop hit. And maybe we want the last couple of frames to just speed this up a little bit. All right. And again, this is not perfect. It's just flowing over the lime and stuff like that. But this is decent enough probably for animatic. Maybe we want to do some do a visualize tag, get some color on our points. Right, so I guess they changed the visualize node in Houdini 19. Which I didn't notice yet. Normally you could do a color ramp here based on the length of the velocity. I guess that's no longer possible, so let's just create our own. Let's do attribute wrangle. Type here f at len, and let's type the length at the velocity. So we'll just write out an attribute here for the length at the velocity, and then over here we could do a color, ramp from attribute, ramp from the length. Just quickly view what our maximum value is, around 2. Gonna put it like that, and then we're just gonna be saying, right, so the very quick moving stuff should be, I guess, light blue, and then the other stuff should be different kind of blue. And then we have our visualizer. Normally you could do this on the visualize node. I'm not sure where they changed that or where they moved that, to be honest. Anyway, now I'm doing it like that. So, looking pretty decent. So probably now want to do our camera animation. So here the thing hits it. So that's where we want the camera to be. And then the first frame we want to move up to the droplet. And maybe we want to change the curve here a little bit to sort of ease out. And I'm not sure if I'm liking the easing. So let's add some more keys there. Let's just slowly move or keep our camera moving. Right, I'm just gonna make this linear. Let's just make it entirely linear for now before I start doing stuff with the keys. I'm not sure if I'm liking the timing here. So I'm gonna go back into this thing and change the keys a little bit. All right, couple frames like that, and then let's just move it down afterwards. So maybe we do want to move the line downwards after a little bit. So I guess from here, and again now this is going to move through the flip sim, but for the animatic here we don't necessarily care too much. So let's just something like that. Have a look. And we're gonna say, all right, let's just move our line down. And then maybe I guess I do want to change the timing on the flip again a little bit because it looks a little bit weird. I want to sort of ease into the falling. Right. And we're gonna also move the camera down here to sort of follow the line a little bit. Something like that. Right, let's, I think this looks pretty good. We can flipbook this if we want. Just have an intermediate step. I do want to add some line pieces in the environment because that's also what we have. Not necessarily here, but I think like I had it in my original and I think that's gonna look nice. So it might be good to have it in the environment. Like if you're gonna do something like this, you want to communicate as much to the client as possible. And in that case, if you're gonna add stuff to the environment, it might be good to add some stuff in the animatic. Right, so let's first just do a flipbook. Right, I'm not really digging the timing yet. Maybe I do want to revisit the flip here a little bit. So maybe I want to add a little bit of drag. So maybe increase the downward motion and then let's do quite a lot of drag. See what that's gonna do. That's maybe a little bit too much drag. But you can see, like, just for animatic, even using dynamics for animatic is pretty, or if this, yeah, this looks pretty similar to what I had also with my original animatic, I think. So let's just save this out. All right. So let's just have a look what that looks like retimed. And that is a lot better. Right, so let's flipbook that again. Right, that's looking pretty good. Let's add some environment stuff. Environment limes, right? So let's copy the object merge from our original lime. Let's put it in here. And let's slice this thing up. So let's make this a lot smaller. Maybe let's transform this up a little bit, because similar to what we did before. We have this grid here. Let's make it like that. And let's do another grid like that. Let's merge those in. Let's do a boolean to slice that thing. And this actually already looks exactly like what I want. So that's good. Let's just make the inside piece a little bit green. Right, so we have somewhat of a, looks a little bit weird with the color. Let's just color pick. Right, we have some inside piece. And now we maybe want some of these in the environment. Let's do a box here in the center. Let's make it somewhat large. Now let's say I want, now not point from volume, let's do ISO offset to add some, to make this into a volume. So this will create a volume. Let's increase the subdivision symbols a little bit. And we scatter some points in here. Right, some points. Then we say copy to points. Target points will be these things. Let's already enable back an instance, and let's add that, and let's decrease the amount. All right. All right, now let's do attribute randomize. Let's say we want to randomize the orientation. Let's make it vector 4. And, oh, we need to, of course, do that on our points. Yep, there we go. And let's just blast away the ones that we don't like. Right, an easy way to just add some types of rotation to these things is to just, for now, just do a primitive properties. So they have renamed some of these. First of all, it's just called primitive sub. You can just do transformations, and it just will do this on all of the pieces at once. But so this will allow you to sort of transform individual primitives. You cannot really do any sort of very specific thing per point here, but this is just going to be an easy way to just add some rotation to these things. Let's just go to first frame, then to last frame, and let's just add some rotation to all of these. Like it doesn't need to be more than that, just so we have like something in here. Right. Alrighty there. So let's flipbook this again. So now with our environment pieces and our flip and everything. All right, I need to, I guess, delete that one because that one looks a little bit weird. Flipbook. Let's close that one. Right, so let's flipbook. All right, looking good enough for the animatic. I'm not particularly fond still of the timing of the falling line, but let's just, you know what, let's change it a little bit. Maybe I don't want it to ease. Maybe I want it to drop off pretty quickly. Let's just do linear. And then one more flipbook, and then I'm gonna export it. Then later in the edit, when we're gonna set the edit up, we're gonna see how this all works. But oh right, that's looking right. So it seems to have done something really weird there. All right, so I'm not sure if I'm liking that. All right, last one. This is flipbook. Just gonna export this. All right, good enough. Not perfect the timing, but again, just to see if this works in the edit, I think this is good enough. Let's call it shot 30 and save it out. All right, so there we go. Now 3 shots done, and yeah, I guess 3 to go. Well, 2 if you counted the last one as one, but so essentially 3 to go. So iceberg shot next. All right, so let's get out of here. Let's hide this. Let's also just go over there, and let's do another subnet. Right, call it shot 040. And first, let's just do a geometry node. And let's make this our lime. Object merge a lime in there. So again, we have that one over there. And possibly increase it in size, although I might scale it down again a little bit later. We'll see. Right, and let's make somewhat of an iceberg type thing. So this thing that we have here. So let's just start with a box. Like, it doesn't have to be anything super complicated or anything. Let's show other objects. I think I'm gonna keep my lime small for now. Let's just first try to see if we can come up with some kind of a nice sort of iceberg type thing. So a box like this should probably be fine already. Just make it big enough. You see, that would be, so this will be roughly or after. Let's already make a camera maybe. Let's grab it, put it in here. Shot 040, and let's look through it. All right, so basically what we're just going to be doing is we're going to just shatter this box here. And we're going to then just bash our lime through it. But first, let's add a little bit detail to this box. So maybe add like a couple of divisions, like does it. We don't need a lot of detail, but just a little bit. So let's do a mountain sub. Again, we're gonna refine this when we do the actual thing, but for now, something like this, sort of a rough sort of thing. And now we want to fracture this. Now we probably don't want to spend resources on fracturing like the entire thing, because like if we want like some smaller pieces, of course for the animatic we don't necessarily need that, but it doesn't make sense to really do a high fracture on this entire thing, even though we're only going to be looking at like just a small fraction of it. Like maybe we probably only want, if I just do a selection here, probably only want to fracture something like that, right? So we could probably do is just boolean out sort of a shape. So let's template the sphere. Let's move it up a little bit. So let's just move it into position. So we're going to use that to sort of cut out a part of the box. And for some reason it's not updating when I'm pulling on the slider, which is kind of weird. And I guess something like that. All right, let's do a boolean. And we want this to probably not intersect. Let's subtract. All right. So let's maybe also do a mountain on the sphere, so we don't get. Let's maybe give this a little bit more divisions, but like a little bit of a mountain on there, so you get like a little bit of detail around these edges. Maybe want the element size smaller. Just look through our cam. So we have sort of that part. And we want to also do the inverse. So copy and paste our boolean. And no, let's do the intersect on that one. All right. So now we have two sides. We have the one side that's going to be this part here. And we have the other side that's going to be this thing here. So this is what we're going to be fracturing, of course. And the other one is going to be the collision object. Maybe you want to actually maybe move this around like this. I think that will make more sense when we move down the line. So then this will be the collision object and this will be the fractured object. Let's do a very basic sort of material fracture to just fracture this thing up. Oh, it appended it to the wrong thing. So material fracture is just a preset node that fractures your geometry. Let's just do one fracture level for now. And let's just give it something like, let's try 24 points. Let's do an exploded view after it. So let's just have a look at the exploded view. You can see the pieces here. Maybe 36. So a couple of bigger pieces. Let's do a second level. Let's turn off auto update. Let's increase the noise frequency here a little bit. Let's do turn back update. All right, yeah, we're getting a little bit more uniform thing. All right, that looks somewhat decent. Of course, these edges now don't have any detail on them, but that's fine for now. Like we don't need any of that, right? We're just caring about this for the animatic. We just want something to bash through this and fall down. We don't necessarily need all the detail. So let's do a just type solver and let's find the bullet solver. Let's put it down. Let's plug in this thing and this thing. And pre-rotate this. Yeah, that should now fall down. Correct. And let's put the collision geometry. Let's put this thing in there. And so what it does by default, it will try to make a convex hull from this geometry. And well, you might understand that you cannot really do a convex hull from this thing because it has some concavity, so it starts moving inwards. So I probably need to tell the solver to use some concave collisions. So you can see here, geometry representations set to convex hull. We don't want it. Let's put it to concave. So we don't understand what a convex hull is. All right, convex decomposition. If I just plug this in, so you see this is roughly what it will do. So the Boolean solver will make a convex hull out of it, which would be roughly what this is doing. And you can clearly see that this will not work for collisions, right? So there are ways to, because why it does that is because convex geometry like this is a lot faster to simulate. So what we're doing here, if we're going to put it to concave, is actually making it slower. It doesn't necessarily matter that much in this case because we don't have that many pieces. In some instances, it might make sense to just get a lot of smaller convex pieces. Then you would do something like this, where you would sort of construct a lot of small sort of convex pieces from your concave geometry. So that's what this here is doing. So this is a sort of a side lesson. We don't necessarily need this here, but that can potentially be a lot faster. So just so you know. Anyway, we are just gonna putting this to concave because it's already quite fast. Right, reset simulation. And you can see right now, like it has, it will sort of stay in place here because it's all glued together. It's one piece. It's sort of sticking into the side there. So I'm probably going to be turning off the constraints for the most part. So if you don't understand really bodies too much, don't worry, we'll go more in depth about this when we get further along because this is still an animatic section. But here you have your geometry, and then there's also the second input, which are the constraints. So there's these lines, and essentially what it's doing is that like you have each individual piece here. If I do my explode view again, and each individual piece will have a name. So if I go here, you can see piece has a name, piece 0, 35, whatever. So that depends, like, so the first, so it's piece 0 is main piece, then 35 will be the sort of the main piece that it's part of, and then the other thing there will be the secondary fracture. So that's how they're named. So if one piece will subfracture, then it will be, for example, piece 35 1, piece 35 2. Anyway, and then we have these constraints. Are these, and then these constraints are going to be saying, all right, I am going to be connecting, well, you can see the name here. So it's going to connect on the point. So this point is connected, for example, to one point and to one piece, and then this point is connected to another piece, depending on the name here. So if I would create a visualizer here, that's by D in the viewport. I can go to marker. And if I were to type name here as text, you see, so this point will be connected to piece 0, 31. And then this one will be connected to 0, 32. So that's gluing those together. Anyway, sort of a little bit of a divergence there. Anyway, we'll get more into that. Yeah. That's how constraints work, and then you can see here constraints have a strength. So if I were to just turn off the strength by putting it to 0 and dive in here, and then I'll play, you see everything will just fall apart. Template the geometry there. So you can see it falling apart, all right? Pretty cool. Maybe I want to add a little bit more pieces, by the way. So let's do let's do more noise in the primary picture. I thought I added it in the primary picture, but apparently it was in the secondary picture that I added the noise. That's why we still had the big part, the big parts. So anyway, this is going to now fall apart. So we want our lime to fall through this iceberg. Let's turn off our simulation. That's the brain icon there. So I'm just going to reset it. All right, going to need to enable it, reset it. Now turn it off. You can see if I now scrub, nothing happens. So we're going to take our lime and we need to scale it up again. So I was going to scale it up again, I guess. All right, let's move it like this. Let's just move it sort of in position. I guess we can scale it down a little bit here. And we're going to move this through the geometry. Again, we're going to start a little bit higher up. Again, go to top view or at something like right over there. We're going to be animating this downwards in I don't know, let's try 20 frames. We probably need less, but by the way, we only need to key the Y channel. All right, something like that. Let's just do a linear movement. So we're not going to drop that on it. It's just going to be hand animated. Again, you could also drop it on there, but I just wanted to sort of crash through the iceberg. So we animated it there. Now let's object merge our lime in there. And oh, no, not the iceberg. We want to object merge our lime into this object. So then if we're here on the left side and we remove our lime, you can see it's moving down. We're going to merge that into the second input, or in the third input, which is going to be the collision. So then we have this animated piece there in the collision. Again, it's not necessarily accurate because it's also just moving down there, but that will be out of screen, so nobody knows, right? Right. If you don't tell, I won't tell. All right, let's see what that's going to do. Oh, need to turn on our simulations again. Let's press play. Oh, and we need to enable, because you can see now that it's not doing anything. It's just remaining static in there. So we need to tell it that it has a piece of animated geometry. So on the bullet solver, again, go to bullet data. So under collisions, bullet data, and you can say we can get deforming static object. So if we do that, you can see it will move down, and then we get sort of very nice sort of boosh, sort of explosive type look. Probably let's turn down the time scale a little bit. And let's try with some of the constraints. See if what that will do if we just enable it. So primary strength, let's try 10. Let's try 100. All right, and we probably don't want to turn the simulation on before this thing actually hit it. So let's turn it on at 1005. let's give it maybe a little bit more sub-steps. Maybe 1 frame earlier. All right. I'm not completely convinced if I'm liking how this is exploding. What I think I might do, again, we're just going with the flow, is just turn off the lime. Then turn off, so again, turn substeps back to 10. Let's turn off the constraints. Again, put it to 0. And what I'm gonna do instead, over there, is do a pop attract. You can see sometimes not just colliding is not necessarily what you want to do. With the pop attract, we can give it somewhat of a force. So pop attract essentially, well, it attracts, but if you give it negative attraction, you can push stuff out. And in this case, since our collision is not necessarily doing what we want, maybe this will do it. So let's just turn force scale to, like, let's say -10, see what it does. All right, that's cool. It pushes it out. Let's try a little bit more. Yeah, there we go. What if we say our first frame of our simulation is, so where it hits it was 1005. Let's say $F equals 1005. So now it will be 1 on frame 1005. And let's say we want that to, let's do times 50. So now it will be 50 on frame 1005. Let's do it between brackets, or we don't need to do the between brackets. Let's make it negative. Just put a minus before it, and then it will be -50 on frame 1005. Let's make it -150. Reset our simulation real quick. Let's do 1500. That's getting somewhere. So now it will get a very quick boost of energy on frame 1005. I guess we could up this a little bit more. All right, there we go. Looking pretty cool. Maybe we want to randomize this a little bit because it's a little bit uniform there. Again, I know we're just in the animatic phase, but let's already do it a little bit to get somewhat of a feeling. So let's turn on Vex expressions, probably the easiest way to do it. And let's type a little bit of a wrangle. If you don't know Vex, don't worry about it. We're gonna use it throughout the course, but I'll try to explain it. So first we want to make a random number. So what we're gonna do is type float. And let's just, so if you type float, it will create a variable, and this will be a holding variable. Let's say we call it R for random. Easy, right? Equals, and we're going to call a function rand, open bracket. So you can see rand, if you open this, you can see here a tip tool creates a random number between 0 and 1 from a seed. You can say, okay, so we need to give it a seed. Let's say point number, ptnum. So now this R value will be a random number for each of these individual points. Because we're dealing with rigid bodies, each of these things are packed rigid bodies at least. So packed geometry is treated as being as being a point. So these are packed, and each individual part here is is a point. Probably if I turn on, yeah, you can see point visualization. You can see they're treated as points instead of pieces. So they will all have a random number. If I were to write this out, so if I type f at r equals r, oh, that's not gonna work, by the way, in a wrangle like this. Anyway, if you were to be able to, if you do this in SOPs, you can write it out. But if you were to write this out, it would assign that value to that thing. Anyway, what we can do is we can say force scale times equals r. So you can just hover over something, see what it's called. It is called force scale parameter. If we now press play, we get a randomized force. Probably we don't want to multiply it by that thing because it's going to be between 0 and 1. So I probably don't want to do this because if we're multiplying it by the random number, like there might be a random number that's very close to 0. So if we were to multiply this value here, which is like around 4,000 over there, if you were to multiply it by something close to 0, it will be very low. So it will hardly get any force. So maybe what I want to say is, all right, R, what it wants you to do is you want to fit 0, 1, which means to fit something that is 0 to 1, which is our R variable. So I want R, and then we want to fit it to, let's say, 0.8, between 0.8 and 1.2. So we're going to refit it. Now we're going to press play. All right, we get a little bit of a random force to it, right? Something like that. Probably want a little bit more pieces still. I know it's still an animatic, but I mean, it's relatively fast, so why not, right? All right, I think maybe I do want this to be a little bit lower. All right, something like that maybe. Let's sketch this out. RBDIO. Just put all those things in. Here we go. Let's just go to $hip geo. Let's say rigid sim. Let's say version 1. Then let's say rigid sim $f.pgo.sc. Let's save this out for, let's say, until frame 1100. Let's initialize simulation operators. All right, let's load from disk. All right. Now let's do some. We're gonna retime this, but let's first just quick do some camera animation. So we have this thing here. Let's maybe call this sim ice. Let's make some extra noise here. Notes here called RNDR iceberg and RNDR pieces. So let's load our geometry, our iceberg geometry into the iceberg. Check merge. Out. Oh. Out. Iceberg. And then the other one, we're gonna load the pieces. Out. Pieces. Here we go. Object merge those in as well. There we go. Into this object. Right, so now we can have a look at what that looks like. Probably want to put a time shift down here. And we want to clamp to first frame. We want to clamp it as the first frame to frame 1004. Because that's going to be the first frame. Right. Now, let's have a look. We have our line there. Let's put another null here on our camera. Let's call it something like mover or something. Maybe we want to change our camera a little bit. Maybe we want this to be a little bit wider angle. 28. Right, that's not gonna work with. Let's do 32. And again, like in our final scene, we might extend this out so we can go with a slightly higher, slightly wider angle. But I think this is fine for now. Oh, and now suddenly this is complaining. Okay, there we go. Let's put a load from file to no geometry so we don't get any errors. All right. Let's move our camera. So let's have our camera start somewhere up here. And then let's have it move down. All right, let's probably want the camera to slightly view upward as well, right, in the beginning. So let's key the rotation for the upwards sloping stuff. Let's rotate it upwards so we can see our lime. And I feel that maybe the lime is too fast. Right, let's do the movement down a little bit slower. And let's offset our explosion in the time shift, like minus a couple frames, right? Minus 6 frames, right? Now we can have this camera animation be a little bit more gentle as well. Let's make it linear for now, and let's have it continue to move down a little bit. It's actually accidentally moving all of them down. No, not necessarily something we want. All right. Let's say something roughly like that, and then on the end we want this thing to really move down a lot. Let's convert these keyframes. And for some reason, not giving me Bezier handles. That's weird. All right, there we go. All right. Let's just do it with one Bezier handle there. All right. So some animation here. Now let's retime some of this stuff. So let's put down a time blend. Again, if you want to retime, always do time blend. Let's do another time shift. Turn off integer frames, else it's not going to work. You're going to need integer frames. You can see the stuff acting a little bit weird there. Don't worry about that for now. It's just trying to interpolate between the normals that are on there and stuff. So not necessarily something to worry about. We can just unpack it afterwards, for example, and then gonna be fine. It's actually, to be honest, weird that it's doing that because it's back geometry, but anyway. Let's remove the this one that we used before, because we don't necessarily need it now anymore if we're gonna offset this. So let's just do it like this. First frame 1004. Right. Keyframe. Go go forward a couple of frames. Something like that. We're gonna explode outwards. And we're gonna be doing a slow motion type thing. And we're gonna ease into really animating this stuff down. All right, let's open up the keyframe editor. Let's unpack this. Oh, it's coming out as pack. All right, it was showing me pack before because I was viewing the first input. Should view the second input. You can see it's actually already unpacked geometry there. That's why it was doing the thing with the normals. So let's just plug the normal in there. It's gonna recalculate the normals itself. All right, something like that. So now we have our basic thing. If I look here on the left, something like that. Probably want this thing to be a little bit faster. I probably want to redo this sim a little bit because I'm not necessarily happy with the way this looks yet. So let's real quick go back into the iceberg sim. Let's do a couple more pieces. 96 and maybe do 8 secondary. Let's reduce the force scale to like 3300. See what it's going to do. It's going to take a little bit of fracture. Right, so all right, I think maybe we're not gonna do this thing. Let's just do it manually. I think the one burst might be a little bit too extreme. We really get this big piece. Let's do it manually. See what we have now in force. 3300. It's too much. Let's do minus 500 and let's just key it down a little bit from 500 to 0. Again, I always just like to experiment a little bit with this stuff, and then you can see what works and what doesn't work. Let's try 200. Right, that looks a lot better already, actually. Still too hard, probably. Now that these pieces are smaller, they're gonna be pushed away a little bit further, probably. So, all right, something like that. Let's move up. Let's again save this out. Initialize simulation operators, else it will not reinitialize the thing. Right, so now you can see that maybe we want the initial burst to go a little bit further. Let's open the keys. Let's have this initial burst take a couple frames longer. And then we can even remove that one key and do it like this. We can really move this up probably. Then fall a lot further. All right. All right. Looking pretty decent. Let's do a proper flipbook. See what we got. 1000 to 1100, red, looking good. That's working pretty well. Maybe one thing that I do want to do, which I also had in my original, is I want to topple the camera down, or topple the camera down a little bit, like that at the end. So you can do a nice transition. Probably want to hide the line, by the way, because it's let's just go one more frame and then let's have the line just keyframe it, so it's going to be completely out of sight, out of mind at the end. So I'm just keyframing it on the X, and then all right, let's unselect it before we do the flipbook. Probably need a couple more frames. This is not enough, so we can just add them by saying, right, let's say from 1100 to 1110. Right, looking good. Pretty similar to what I had before. Let's export this and again have a event back. Flip. Say shot 40. Save it out. And yeah, that's another one down. So now only top shot swirl and side swirl remain. So yeah, let's do the next one. Let's hide this and yeah, let's start with the next one. All right, so let's do the top one, and then after that we only have one left. So let's do another subnet. Call it shot 050. And let's just dive in. Let's think about how we could sort of easily visualize this in an animatic. What I'm thinking is to maybe just do a curve, sort of a twirly curve, and then sort of just sweep something around it, and then just twist some object in the center around or something like that. I think that will be good enough for doing our animatic. Let's do a camera here, and let's rotate it down 90 degrees so that it's facing down like that, and then I guess we could move it upwards. Oops. Move it upwards like that. All right, so let's do a geometry node. Call it, I guess, fluid or something like that, I guess. And let's do, I think, what was it called again? It's called a labs, like they have so many tools. It's called a labs spiral, I think. So it's quite a nice tool. Allows you to, well, to do a spiral, essentially. So you can just, let's move it up. Let's increase the radius. Let's increase the loops, and we probably need to have this move downwards. So let's do -5 or something, and then just move it up a little. Right, I guess something like that. Or let's copy this and then put base relative references in there, and then do times -1. So then it's gonna move it up if we move this down. So we can sort of do a nice sort of twirl. So let's just look through this. You can see this looks pretty cool. We get a Houdini logo thing. Let's do somewhat of a sweep. And let's do a ribbon or something. Let's do a round tube. Radius, apply scale long attribute. Like I mentioned, like in my like I mentioned before, in my original animatic, I had the this thing actually from the side when I initially had the idea. So like it might end up, if you're doing something like this, that you're gonna change it when you're actually working on it. But now that I know that this was working better, we're of course gonna do it like this in the animatic. But all right. Oh, got one too many there. All right, let's go out. Let's do our lens. Let's make it a little bit more wide. 22 or something. You can see you get a lot more depth here, which is pretty cool. Let's do a couple more loops maybe. Can increase the points if we want. All right, and let's increase this overall radius, and let's also increase the radius here. All right. Looking pretty decent. We can add some more things there. We could add some resolution here. All right, and if we wanted now, we could, for example, we could do a carve on here. It will allow us to sort of carve. You can see the spiral. So maybe we do want sort of a thing like that. Right, so let's for now just make this already quite long. Oh, it actually keeps going for quite a bit. I guess I can make this a little bit shorter. Right. And then I can reduce the loops. Let's add a little bit of a mountain to our sweep so it looks a little bit more fluid-like. Increase the radius a little bit here. Decrease the roughness. And decrease the amplitude, and let's say animate noise. So now it's gonna sort of wiggle like that. So this is, I guess, good as a sort of placeholder for a fluid sim. Again, we're gonna do fluid sim. But let's first just animate this thing a little bit. So let's say like probably again around 120 frames. So let's keyframe first frame and then animate that down. All right. Okay, we probably want this to already start a little bit like that. And maybe we want it to continue right until the first one. Right, let's animate our camera a little bit because in my original I had it sort of tumble down. Let's have it tumble down in a couple frames. Because of course in the other shot before this we were also tumbling down from this thing, so then we can get a nice transition. You probably need to move this down a little bit. That's, yeah, something like that. Right, then we get something like that. And then we can, let's go in the carve here and let's increase the speed a little bit in the beginning. All right. That's decent enough. I guess we want the camera to rotate a little bit as well. So let's do rotation there. Let's do some counter rotation. And when we do our final shot, we'll have to see if counter rotation works better, or if clockwise rotation works better. We'll find out. For now, I think this looks decent. Right. Let's just copy our fluid here, because maybe, and let's call this objects, I guess. Go in here, because probably want to reuse this spiral, but we can get rid of the other stuff here. Probably want to leave the mountain, so we can get some detail on this curve. Right, let's copy some stuff to it. Scatter a couple of points on it, I guess. No, scatter, right, scatter. Just a couple. And let's copy a box to it. Let's do attribute randomize. I guess we could also do scatter and the line. Guess that would make more sense in this case. Or not, let's just do the randomize. I don't use the scatter on the line that much myself. I tend to always just still set up a lot of stuff myself. I guess it's just old habits die hard. Right, let's do normal and inside sphere. Alright, so let's put them there. And let's also do another one. Call it p-scale. Let's do uniform continuous 1. Let's do between 0.5 and this. So this is, I guess, our ice cubes. Let's add some divisions to our box. Don't need too many, just a couple. Right, so we got some cubes here. And I guess here, good. Let's do the mountain after this whole thing. Right, let's see. Right, so you can see them kind of moving about a little bit. Easy does it. Right, so I guess we could say that we want to transform this stuff. I guess we could also, so this is going like that. We could change sort of the loops on the spiral here to have them twirl a little bit more. Let's just increase the twirl there. So we're gonna be like, right. Let's see if we carve this, if there's gonna be, no, there's not gonna be weird issues with the scattering. That's good. Thought because scattering happens after, so it might have acted up, but in this case, it's gonna perform fine. So let's do carve to just move these down a little bit, and then do another trick that we did before with the primitive properties to just rotate these. Again, these are just like you probably wouldn't use this way a lot in production because they're uniformly rotating. But this is just the easy way to just sort of quickly do this in Animatic. To just oh, we need to pack them, by the way. Pack an instance. Also, it's not going to work. All right. All right, looking good enough. All right, let's do the normal after the position because that was acting weird again. All right, let's decrease this a little bit. And we probably want to scale down our thing so it's more a little bit inside the vortex. And let's move this down, or maybe we can do this already with the carve to make it a little bit more extreme. Or let's just put another transform here to actually move this down. So let's move it up a little bit in the beginning. Let's just move it down through the timeline. Let's do linear keys. Again, you can use this as sort of just very simple, just very simple animatic stuff. But the good thing also with this is that we already have our sort of base set up, and then we can use that later in the actual shot when we're actually building this. All right. So in these objects, I guess we can just add some more stuff here, or we can copy this. Let's call this ice cubes. And let's copy and paste that and call these limes. Let's just object merge our lime in here. Into this object, got a little lime there. Let's copy it on. It's probably going to be way too small. So let's transform it up. Oh, we probably don't want to put in the entire lime. So let's go to shot 30 where we split up this lime, right? We had this lime that we split up, which we did in here in environment limes. Let's just, so we have this null here called out shader. Let's load in that one instead. So over there. All right. I guess we can scale it down a little bit here then. And let's change the seed on our scatter a little bit here. I do feel that we need to probably, there's some curve somewhere that I don't like. Right, let's turn off the easing of all of these things. Also on this stuff. Like for a shot like easing, generally if you're doing animation, easing is probably good because something will never like start out of nowhere and they just go like this. It will always ease in, ease out. But for this shot, we're really cutting into a thing that's already in motion. So we don't necessarily care for easing it in or easing it out. So let's do the same here. And by the way, you can change these automatic keys over here in the preferences. So let me see where it is. It's on the animation tab, if I'm correct. Or maybe miscellaneous, no. Network. I always seem to forget where it are at animation. Oh, you can see here, default function Bezier. You can change what you want the default to be. I had it linear for a while, but then you're constantly changing it back to Bezier, and it's like it's not ideal in any scenario. Like sometimes you want it to default to linear, sometimes you want to default it to Bezier, but anyway. All right, so I probably want these things to spin a little bit more, so I'm just gonna, I guess, rotate this stuff a little bit here with a transform in the bottom. Easy peasy. Just copy and paste that one and also do it here in the limes. I think I'm gonna do the camera, spin it the other way, because I'm not particularly digging how slow it looks if we do it counterclockwise. So I'm thinking I'm gonna do it the other way. I'm gonna spin the camera to that side. Let's see. Right, already getting a little bit more of a vibe there, and you can see the curve here is messed up. Right, and let's animate our camera down as well. Probably wanted to start up a little bit higher. By the way, oh, you can see stuff popping in and out. That's the near and far clipping. Let's remove the near clipping. You can see now it's still there. It's probably far clipping. It's also the deal, or is it? Yeah, right. It was the far clipping. All right, so let's just animate this thing down. So we're gonna move through the thing. And again, we probably want this make linear. Again, this, with the default, it's just sometimes it's better to have it linear, and sometimes with ease. Looks pretty good. I think I want it to be a little bit wider, even. Let's try 12. Right, something like that looks pretty good actually. Maybe we want the fluid stuff here to have a little bit more detail. So it actually looks a little bit more like a fluid. We could, I guess, even convert this into a VDB. Or then we need to apply end caps. You know what? Let's not do that. Let's just decrease let's increase pulse, or let's decrease the pulse duration, so it's going to be faster. And we're going to decrease the element size. All right. Let's just add a color, so it's a little bit like water. That, and let's do attribute wrangle, and let's say f at alpha equals 0.5, right, or 0.25. And control enter to do that. Right, so now it's a little bit see-through, so it's a little bit more like water. So yeah, I guess we could make some sort of a glass in the bottom, so we kind of have the idea that there's an actual glass there. So let's just do end caps. Let's blast the top thing. Just gonna do some destructive modeling here, and for some reason, right, it's better. All right, and then body extrude. Let's just extrude these outwards, outward back. Right, I have some kind of a glass, the bottom. Move it down a little bit. All right, looks pretty good. Let's do a flipbook. And again, like the stuff that we're doing here is just, oh, I did the wrong range. I need to do it from frame 1000. So the stuff that we're doing here, like it might seem like this is all just very basic, but this will give us a really good guide for what we're going to be doing later. Because now after we do because after this we're going to do the last shot. After that we're going to jump into Premiere or whatever editing package you prefer to edit in. And we're going to cut this together and we can see actually if it works like we thought it might. I think it looks pretty cool. Let's export it. We could probably reuse a lot of this setup for our last shot. It's going to be this one. You can just copy the whole setup, I guess. Let's just wait for this to export. All right, there we go. So yeah, one final shot remaining. It's going to be this one. So yeah, let's get into it. All right, so let's just jump out of this thing. Let's just hide this and let's copy and paste it for our final shot. And for that one, we could, I guess, just move to the side. And yeah, we do need to change a little bit. See, from the side, it actually looked a little bit weird. But we can fix that. So I guess let's remove this camera. Let's do another camera. that one we do want to be probably like around 15 millimeters. Let's just first fix this fluid thing, right? Let's change the carve. Let's just remove the animation there. Let's decrease the loops here. Probably want to decrease the radius. Decrease the radius there. All right. Let's increase the height there a little bit. For some reason, stuff in the viewport seems to keep disappearing. I don't understand why. Because that is weird, because it shouldn't, because I have this on. I guess some kind of a bug, maybe. Let's just link it to the first input, just to be sure. Right. Let's move this down a little bit. And let's do the carve, but now the other way, like to the other side. So I'm really confused why this keeps disappearing. Anyway, we know that it's roughly in the correct place, so it should be fine. Let's carve. Something like that. Oh, I forgot the key. Let's do key. All right. Probably want to maybe speed this up actually, so it's sort of increases in speed. It might be cool. And with the sweep, I guess we want to round off this sort of this end corner. Maybe in this case we also want to select all of our things with Shift, right click, Bezier, sort of round it off. Got something like that. Can I make it a little bit thicker maybe? All right. All right. Now with the ice cube stuff, I guess we can go in here. Just copy and paste our carve that we had from the other side and just plug that in instead. Let's hide the lines here. All right, that seems to actually work pretty well. Probably want to rotate this a little bit more. To increase the speed at the end. All right. Let's do the same with the lime. So just copy the transform there, go into limes, paste it in there. So in the limes here, we also need to grab our spiral with our carves. Delete the originals, put them there. Again, there's normally also some leaves here, but for the animatic, I guess we can live without them. All right, looks pretty good. Let's do another extra thing here. Let's put it on a null on our object level and let's just link stuff to it. I think now we should be able to rotate this. Yep, there we go. Because in the other one we were rotating camera. Let's just now actually rotate this fluid ourselves a little bit. Let's just do it in here so we can actually see what we're doing. Then let's click on it and move the keys over. And let's do some sort of speed up. All right. Now we do want to maybe build something in the environment so we kind of get a feeling for the animatic, like also for the client to look at like roughly the environment they were in. So this glass is standing on something. So let's just do tube create. We can later fill this in when we do the actual shot. Because when I was originally building this, I didn't know what to put it on. So at first I tried putting it on a rock, but then I thought the sort of the wooden cutout thing looked better. So I ended up using that. But as of right now, let's just pretend that we don't know what we're going to be putting this on. So that, let's do a grid. Move that down as well. Let's make it big, very big. Let's really increase these rows and columns. Just add a little bit of detail there. And then, because we can reuse some of the environment scattering stuff that we did for our shot 1. So let's just do environment scatter. Let's also grab our hero leaf, in case we want to put some stuff in front. So let's just paste those in. And this is going to be our ground. Copy our ground, because we want to paste something in here. Paste ground in there. And then we know that we want to be painting there. We need to reset that because you can see the geometry change. So now it doesn't know what to apply it for. So let's reset it. And it's weird that this is, I think I'm going to reboot Houdini real quick to see why this is not working. Right, so it turns out it wasn't working because shot 60 subnet was hidden over there. So there you go. All right, I'm going to be hiding this stuff for now because that seems to cause some instability when I'm trying to paint, because Houdini crashed a couple of times when I tried to activate this attribute paint. So hopefully this will not happen this time. Let me just hide this stuff for now. And let's activate it. All right, let's ghost for now. All right, it seems to work. All right, now let's just paint. All right, it's a little bit too enthusiastic maybe. All right, let's paint some stuff here. So that's going to be where some of the plants will be scattered. So we have some stuff in the environment. All right, so looks like we were working on a different skill here. Let's put these to something a lot higher. All right, looking pretty good. Jump out of there. Let's grab let's also do a couple in the front. Because we can increase the amount. All right, and let's just move this to the side a little bit. All right, so that's roughly what we want. Because if we're gonna look at the storyboard, you can see you also had some plants there, and of course in the other shot we had stuff in the background. So something like this seems to be probably roughly what we want. So let's show our fluid, show our cube, show our limes, and probably want to, let's do maybe 65 focal length. And let's put a null here so we have some control over that stuff. Let's turn off the textures. We're gonna need to hide this and then re-enable it, because again, for some reason it doesn't seem to do that. All right, let's see what happens if we sort of rotate the camera here, because we want, remember what I had in the original. Oh, by the way, we want to probably move the environment scatter back a little bit, or something like that. Oh, probably we didn't do that in the animatic. We might need to go back there, but let's first see how it works in the edit. So in my original, I had sort of the camera moving out of the twirl here and then coming out on there. So I guess I'm gonna do something similar here. So I guess let's just keyframe this. Let's keyframe the rotation of our camera. Let's just rotate our camera out like that, and let's move our camera back and down. Oh, and we probably want this rotation to be zeroed out. And we don't want that one. Right, key that. All right. And then we probably want some, you know what? Let's not do the rotation for now for the animatic. I think it's going to be a little bit too difficult to sort of add that in for now. Let's just first focus on the general camera movement. Then after we've done the edit, we can do this later once we do the actual shot. Right. Let's just move our thing down here. And we probably want to move our, so our camera starts somewhat close. And we're gonna zoom out very slowly. Probably want to keep going a little bit. All right. And there's some plant there. That's the hero plant we can hide because we don't need that one. All right, let's do flipbook. I guess until frame 1200. Oh, let's hide these nulls, by the way, because they're looking a little bit annoying in the flipbook. Let's hide those. Do it again. All right, so that's looking pretty good. Let's export this as a final flipbook. Shot 60. And then we're done for now with all the animatics. So what we're going to do now is we're going to jump into our video editing software. Again, you can use whatever you want. Use Premiere, use Resolve, use Final Cut. Like, it doesn't necessarily matter. Just choose something that you want to edit in. I generally still edit in Premiere, although I do kind of want to switch to using Resolve because Premiere doesn't have ACES support. You need to bake everything down to sRGB or Rec 709. So in Resolve you don't have that. You can keep everything in ACES. So yeah, I guess pros and cons everywhere. I'm gonna be setting this up in Premiere. That's also what I edited in the original. But yeah, just do whatever you want. So yeah, let's jump into Premiere and let's edit this thing together and see how well it actually holds up when we're when we're doing this. All right, so we're here inside of Premiere. This is my original cut here, as you can see. So with the music pre-cut, so you can see this is not what the music was originally. I've cut it up to fit my timing, and there's some sound effects there as well. So this is copyright-free music, so you can use that. So I decided to just use this thing, so now I already have the audio cut here, and then I don't have to recut it. But again, like, you could also make your own cut, do it with your own music, see what works. Like, I like this and with the sound effects that I did, but yeah, so this soundtrack will be included. Sound effects won't be included, of course. But yeah, I guess let's just edit the animatic. So let me just go to my editing tab. So let me just copy this and call it tutorial animatic, and I'm just going to be removing everything that's there except for the music, and then we're just going to be working in there. Or you know what? Let me just do a new one. So let's go to new sequence. Let's go to settings. Let's set up a new sequence. Say custom, 30 frames per second, 1920, 1080. Square pixels, no fields. Rec 709. Like, I would love to have aces in Premiere, but for some reason they haven't done that yet. Right, and let's call this tutorial edit. All right. I'm going to go to my original edit. I'm just going to copy my audio. And again, you can just download these files, or what you could do is you could grab your own music, try to come up with something yourself. But this is the full soundtrack here, and I kind of like this one. So as you can see, the normal soundtrack is a lot longer than what I did. I thought it worked pretty well. So let's go into here. And if you're going to be editing, again, this is not going to be an editing tutorial, but it's always good to sort of organize whatever it is you're doing. You can see I have a footage, which is regular video footage. Renders, where your render is going to be sound, where you're going to be putting sound effects and music. So sequences, After Effects, comps, and let's do one for flipbooks. So we're going to be loading our flipbooks in here. So I'm just going to be navigating to my folder here. You can see I have all my flipbooks here. Let's just put them in there, and let's just put them on the timeline. So shot 1, shot 2, shot 3, 4. And again, you can see we're already a little bit too long, but let's just play it. Let's mute the audio. Let's see what this looks like without doing any editing. So you can see, obviously, a lot of the shots already are way too long. Well, in general, works pretty well. Right, so let's just do a sort of a rough cut here. So we want to cut this just before this thing hits it. So probably somewhere over there. Gonna move our second shot in where just before it hits, so we get sort of a nice match cut here. So let's see how this works. Might want to do it one frame later because I really cannot see the... with plus and minus on the keyboard you can zoom in. Yeah, so one more frame perhaps. So we can actually see it just before it hits. Right. So that's gonna roll off. Let's enable the music. So that hit. That's where in the original I had the splash. So we probably want to take some material off here somewhere, so we can match this, that the third shot here will be roughly around here. So we probably need to take some stuff off the beginning here. Just move this over. And let's just move that. Right, again, this thing here keeps going too long, so we probably want to cut this off here. So we can move this over. And we can make the beginning shot a little bit longer again. So you can see now we're gonna be cutting there. And then we can probably cut a couple frames off there. And we can move this in, and then you can see now on the audio hit, we're doing the splash. So we're going to be playing now. Right, next shot. And then let's see how I did it in my original here. So we have so on the we probably want the next shot to shell in. So if we look at that, then this shot is probably too long. So something that I already see that we probably want to change here is that this is probably too slow. So maybe we want to make this a couple of frames earlier and like have this drop faster. So let's just drop back in to back into Houdini. Let's hide this. Go into our shot 30. Shot 30 cam. So let's just go back here and see. So maybe on this, that seems like something could happen. Let's see how I did it before there. So on the tick there, we probably want it to start moving down. Let's see how many frames we should move it back. So we can just, with the arrow keys, we can just jump through this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You can see now it's moving at frame 10. You probably need to move this back 10 frames. So again, shift click on this thing, then you can go to the dope sheet. You can see the keys here. It's probably a little bit easier to move stuff. You can zoom in on where it is that we're working. You can grab these and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's do 11 for just, and let's have it move down a little bit faster as well. And we probably also want the camera to move sooner as well. Can do that based on just with these keys, just based on when it's gonna move. Probably want to all right. And I think I want this lime to also just move a little bit faster. So reduce the speed of that. All right. Maybe we want to have our camera keep moving down a little bit. Move it up a couple frames and then move it down a little bit more. Let's play. All right, let's flipbook this. Close our other flipbook. Let's say until frame 1100 again. So you see we're just going to be working back and forth until we got something that works. So let's export this. Flipbook. Let's say that is going to be shot 30 version 2. Let's just, so then we can compare if we want. So in Premiere, let's just replace this. So right click, review on project. Then we have this thing. Let's replace footage. We need to go to our folder and let's replace it with the other one. All right, let's have a look. And then we can move this one back. And we can probably right, so this one also needs to start moving down a little bit sooner. So again, let's move into shot 40. Let's have a look how many frames we needed to sort of be sooner. So we wanted to be here. Let's start counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. Around 27 frames. So 98 or 97. So what did I say? 21 frames. So that's going to be 1097 minus 21 is going to be 1076. So we want it to be done rotating over there. All right. Oh, what I was calculating wrong, by the way. I should start at the last frame. So pardon me. 1108 minus 21 is 1078. It's going to be that one. So last frame needs to be over there. And also with the move thing. There we probably, is there also, right? So the mover thing, 1101 minus 21 is 1080. Oh, it's short 40 cam, right? So have a look. I think now that I'm looking at the rotation like this, I think the rotation should start a little bit later. We're already doing we're starting the moves earlier. So I guess if we're doing it like this, it should be fine. All right, let's flipbook this. So close the other one. And let's do 1001 until 1100. All right. Again, let's export this as 40 version 2. Like you could also override it, but it depends if you want to compare it. Like maybe there's multiple versions that you want to do. If you were to do this in a production environment, by the way, because now I'm just doing this in one file. If you're doing this inside of a production environment and like, let's say, the one of the versions that you're doing is being sent to a client, you don't want to just version your flipbooks. You also want to be versioning your HIP file. So you would have a version 1 HIP file, or you could version your subnets as well. That would also be a reasonable way to do that. But keep versions of everything it is that you're doing. So if the director or the client or whoever it is, decides that they prefer another version, then you can jump back. So you always want to keep versions. You don't want to override it. Again, in this tutorial, that's going to be a little bit different because we're not going to be jumping back a version. If we do, you can always go to our backup folder here, which is very useful, by the way. Like, let's say if you've sent something to a client and then accidentally you lost one of your files, or like you kept working in your file or whatever. I've had that a couple of times. I just go back in the folder and then I check, all right, The version that I sent the flipbook from was, for example, 1:10 p.m. Then I will grab the 1:10 p.m. version, and then I will open it up, and then and then I have the correct version again. Anyway, right. So we saved that one out. Let's go back into Premiere here, and let's just replace. And again, I don't understand why it keeps grabbing this other folder. Right, so you can see it's a little bit shorter there. Right, so that's already looking a lot better. So we could probably cut off 1 or 2 frames from the beginning here. Oh, we could cut 2 frames here from the end because this is too long, and then we can keep that in the beginning, move that over. All right, looking good. Then we can cut to this thing on the top here. You can see the camera move here works pretty well. We need to match the cuts, so let's move this over like this. So we're halfway in the cut. You can see now we get a sort of a nice transition, right? I mean, this is a different scene, but you can see it works pretty well, and especially if you're gonna have motion blur and stuff. And then over here, we're gonna cut to the side shots. And we probably want to do it on the doom. On that one, so you can just play through it. Just hit it. Like you're in the club, you're just trying to match the beat with your dancing skills. I'm just kidding. All right, let's play. All right, I'm not particularly liking this last shot for the animatic. So I'd say we revised that a little bit. It feels very slow coming into it. It should start lower, be faster, I think. And not liking the camera either. So let's change that up a little. So let's go to shot 60 here. And I think I'm gonna just get rid of the camera animation that we have now, because I wasn't liking it. All right. Let's just move this like this to the center. Let's change the fluid animation a little bit. So we want to carve to maybe start lower like that. Maybe also finish sooner. Just before frame 1100. And we probably want to do the same with the other stuff. We could also link up these parameters, by the way, if we want. Maybe that will make sense. So we could say, right, we have this carve here. From the ice cubes, we could paste it here on the carve from the limes. So they're gonna be roughly the same. Right, let's play. And I'm, to be honest, still not really liking the easing there. Maybe I should just make this linear. Also on the fluid. It's just because the easing here just really gets the flow out of the whole thing. Again, it was also what I was mentioning before, that sometimes you just want linear movement. And I think I'm gonna even decrease it a little bit more there. And maybe increase it a little bit. Again, this is not an exact science. You don't have to match exactly my keys. Just make sure you make something that you think looks good. That's the most important thing, of course. And I'm going to maybe, by the way, increase the final radius there, right? Right, so let's keyframe our camera a little bit. So let's tumble it up. And I probably want, because I also have this tumble on here. I think that one, this also needs to be linear. I think that one is really breaking this. Or maybe even that one. I could maybe use that one to have it speed up in the beginning, because that's the thing that I don't particularly like. So let's see what happens if I do that. Right, that's already actually seems to pretty much fix the issue that I had. Do a flipbook. All right, seems to work pretty well. Now let's still try to do the sort of the same thing that we did here with the movement. I know I mentioned that I wasn't gonna do that, but maybe it makes sense to still do this for the most part. So let's copy our uniform scale so we can sort of use that to zoom into this thing. And we have this rotation. We want to do that one as well. Then on the first frame here, we're gonna really just zoom in and rotate up. And then we're gonna, right? You can see that we'll ease out of it. Probably want to do that in a couple more frames, maybe like 20. Right? Then maybe we want, if we open this up, maybe we want to keep that going a little bit because it feels a little bit extreme to just come grinding to a halt. Yeah, right. That already feels a lot better. Again, I keep saying feels because I mean it's an art form, right? It feels like there's technical stuff and there's artistic stuff, and it is like it needs to feel good. And I guess that's also where you need to develop a sort of a feeling for stuff like this, which can be difficult because it's not something you can really explain. It's just something that, yeah, you feel if it's right or if it's wrong. And the longer you do this, the better feeling you develop for that. All right, so let's export that one. And then let's also do the one before. And we need to just check on our cut here. So we have our edit here. So if we move this up, you can see we cut up quite a bit at the end for that one. But if we want to match this in the cut, we need to make sure that our final frame of our thing, is going to be the correct frame. So that's going to be, right, so how many frames did I cut off in the beginning here? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So 1006 is the first frame here, right? And we're going to need to cut some frames here off. So it needs to be in the movement over here. So let's count some frames. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39. All right. So need to go 39 frames need to come off there. Right, so I restarted Premiere because it was cutting off some of my frames there. A little bit annoying. So if you control click on your frames here, you can see the frames that you got. So here's frame 5, so that would be 1006. And we are currently cutting off there. So if we move this over, so we want to cut it there. So frame 81. So in 81, that fruit free, we need to be out of this in frame 1082. All right. 1082. Oh, we need to go to our correct camera, right? 1000, am I correct in assuming that? I think so. 1082. So we can, actually the overall movement was fine, but we want to maybe do let's do a null. We have a sort of a null that we can use to rotate the camera out of this. All right. And 1082 want to be out of it. Let's do 1085, by the way, because we want to do it in the middle of the cut. So let's set a key at 85. And then let's start at 75, so we have 10 frames. Oh, by the way, I need to do it the other way around. So let's set a key at 75, then go to 85. And at 85, let's move out of this thing. All right, need to move this up a little bit because I can see we kind of want to be, so at 82, we want to be inside of it. All right, 82. It seems to be correct. Now let's do another flip book. 1001 to 1100. Let's close our other flip book. All right, let's export this. Flip 1050. And let's export. Yeah, I know I need to fix my Redshift installation for Houdini 19. So that's why the thing keeps popping up. All right, let's save it out. All right, so let's by the way, let's load in the actual next one instead of replacing it. You can just layer it on top then. Right, so we want that one to be, then we can cut it off and let's see if this works. All right, so we do need, you know what, let's actually replace it, just see what it does. Probably a little bit easier. And I don't know why it doesn't just remember the last folder that I really hate Premiere. All right. All right, it works. Let's replace frame 60 or shot 60 as well. Again, just go to the correct folder Premiere. It's not that difficult. All right, V2. And it looks like we didn't export the correct frame range for 32, but the edit out of this limb seems to work pretty well, right? All right, so let's change our shot 60 a little bit because exported the wrong frame range for that one. I guess I accidentally did that one to 1100 instead of 1200. Let's do 1250 just to be certain, right? Right, so you can just export that. Let's wait for it to finish, right? Let's export it. 6dv2, let's just override that one. Right, there we go. Let's go back into Premiere. Let's play. Right, working pretty well. Let's do just a placeholder title thing. Just do a legacy title for now. Let's call it title. Beautiful. Yes, I know that it's legacy. I didn't call it SESI-Snacks. Let's do Lato, because that's the Houdini font. And you can see we probably need to line this shot out better, but I'm just going to keep that for now. Let's just put the title there. Let's just fade that in. So fade the audio out really softly. And then let's put an out point. Let's watch this. Let's just full screen it. All right, that works pretty well. So yeah, let's just export this and then we have something we could show our theoretical client. So let's just go to File, Export, Media. Let's actually get my correct folder. Tutorial project. Let's say outgoing. Let's say we want to say SESI-Snacks Animatic V001. If you're doing this to a client or something, might sometimes make sense to include a date as well. But for now, let's just do it like this. Right, looking good. Export it. And let's just open it and have one last look at it. All right, looks good. So with everything animaticized, animatic, what would you call it? We can move along. So yeah, now let's start actually building some shots, because now we got everything sort of properly set up in order to start working. So yeah, see you in the next part where we're going to be making some cool effects, talk about the vellum fluids, how that all works, discuss the technicals, etc. So see you in the next part. Hope you enjoyed this and see you there.